Hey everybody. Um, I'm not sure. I think I just started. Okay, I think I just started. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're doing really well this afternoon. It is Monday at 11:42, and I'm feeling pretty darn good. Had a little bit of a technical problem there, but I think I figured it out. Nate says I am here, and I appreciate the confirmation, Nate. Thank you very much. Can you hear me out there, Nate? Let me know that too, because I had a problem with that last time I live streamed. I think I'm good to go because all my mic's on and I'm getting good levels and everything looks good. But wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about the end of the season. Wanted to talk to you about the nearly opportune situation Purdue has right now, going into the Big Ten tournament, winning five straight games. Pardon me, and where I was wrong this season. That's one of the big things I want to talk to you guys about. I put some notes together. Thanks, Greg. Thanks, Nate. Appreciate it. Thanks for tuning in, guys. But we've been having a good couple weeks around here at Boiled Sports. A lot of interest from you guys. And it turns out that when Purdue plays well, you guys actually want to hear what we have to say, just because I think it's like anything else. When you're enjoying something, you want to get more of it. And Purdue has surely been doing its part in making the Boiled Sports YouTube channel and website and Twitter feed a more interesting place to be. After all, who wants to be around something that isn't fun? And I think it's a lot more fun when things are going well. So I want to tell you guys a little bit about where I was wrong this season, some things that I see. If you guys can remember one after I've done the five, you can leave a comment in the live chat or below, and you can tell me where I was wrong. I'm okay. I'm good admitting I'm wrong. I'm good about that. But before I do that, I want to say thanks to our sponsors, of course. MartinVintage.com. Enter Boiled at checkout. Get a great t-shirt. I'm not wearing one today, obviously, but MartinVintage.com. Great shirts. Purdue family. Can't stress that enough. That's important to us. Also, eatajs.com. Order a burger. Go over to the AJ's location just off campus. If you're going there for one of the play-in games or an NCAA tournament game, what an opportunity. Go watch some other games on their TVs. Grab a pint, one of their 20 beers on draft, and then they have other beers in the bottle. And, of course, gridironmetalworks.com, our home of our friends Paul, Derek, and darn it, I can't remember the girl's name, but great company. Another Purdue family. Enter Boiled Sports at checkout for a gift. It's not a bad thing. Not a bad thing at all. So Purdue is the number 4 seed. They'll be playing Ohio State, Minnesota, or Northwestern. I already said that once, but you may not have heard it because I don't think I did the right thing on my technical feed on this side. But I'm pretty sure that'll go chalk. I think it will be Ohio State. Ohio State will be at full power this time. Both times when they played Purdue, they were not at full power. If you don't know that, they were out Liddell, and then they were out Walker the other time. Those guys both had bouts with injury and were out of games for multiple games during the season. So Purdue will get a angry and possibly motivate Ohio State team. I think Ohio State is playing to get that number 2 seed in the NCAA tournament. I think Purdue is all but locked into a 4. Granted, they might be able to move up a slot to the 3. But I think more than likely they're going to be a 4 seed, and I'm good with it. I think this has been a pretty darn good season to be in the position where you finish 4th in the conference in a bit of a transitional year. I seriously can't ask for better. But I wanted to talk about some of the things I was wrong about this season. Again, tell me another place where I was wrong. But I remember some things, and they came up to my mind, especially as I was watching games during this closing section of the season. So one of the big ones, it's fresh in my mind because we just saw a chapter of this. Purdue, if you woke up this morning and the sun was shining, the birds were chirping, you knew it was day number 1843 since IU last beat Purdue. And that's a big deal. That's a long streak. It's one of the longest streaks now in the history of the series. I think it's 9 times that Purdue, 9 straight games that Purdue has beaten IU. You're getting up into a very, very unusual streak that neither team has won many more in a row than this. I don't think IU has won this many in a row. But I know Purdue has won 10 or 10 plus a couple times. So that's a big deal. So I was wrong. I thought IU would end that streak this season, coming into the season, just because the big thing I'm looking at is I just can't believe they're just going to keep winning in perpetuity, even when they're better. I'm kind of in that mind frame of the old IU Purdue games back in the 80s and 90s where it really didn't matter what the records were, that teams were so motivated when they came in. But it turns out Matt Painter is just a lot better in these situations than Archie Miller has been. One of the things that just confounds me when I watch IU play, maybe you guys in the comments can answer this question, but I have no idea why IU continues to throw forwards and guards at Purdue's bigs. They did it against Travion Williams in Bloomington earlier this season. It didn't work. They did it again this time against Zach Edey in Mackey Arena. It didn't work at all. They weren't even speed bumps, and Purdue really, really. Maybe they didn't kill him, but it sure felt like they had him. They kind of had their way, and I went back and watched the tape. And as I promised you guys on Saturday that I would. And I think Michael and company were pretty right. Purdue did look like a team that pretty much could have their way with IU in different ways, in spite of still not a great jump shooting team and not really needing to be at this point. Another thing I think I was wrong about, and I had a post about it, was that I thought Ethan Morton would have a breakout game this season. It hasn't happened. Granted, it still could in the tournament and in the Big Ten tournament or the NCAA tournament, but it did not happen this season. I still have a lot of faith in Ethan Morton, and I think that he could be a really special player. I don't know who will do this. I don't know how they'll do it, if they'll make them declare next year at the beginning of the school year, if they're repeating their eligibility year. But I think it would be really wise for Morton to redeclare next year as a freshman, and then he would be part of the First and Kaufman class. I think that would be a really smart move. That'd be a really well-rounded class too. I'm not telling the other guys not to. I just don't know. Honestly, I don't know the rules about what you have to do. I would guess they'd say you have to do it next year. Maybe I'm wrong though. In case you don't know, the NCAA pretty much gave you a do-over this year because of the weird circumstances of COVID. But anybody can come back next year as they are this year. So if Travion Williams could be a junior again next year. Eric Hunter, of course, could be a junior again. Wheeler could be a junior. I don't think of a lot of guys doing that. I think there is something that is kind of underrated. We saw it in football, which was pretty unusual, that a couple guys have decided to come back and repeat their year again. I think it gets a little old to be the oldest guy around and to watch your friends graduate. I have a friend that he was one of my roommates, and he stayed an extra year. I think he changed his major at some point, like sophomore, junior year. And having all your friends not be on campus, it gets a little difficult. It's not the end of the world, especially if you feel like there's a bigger picture and you're trying to do something else. But it is something to think about. Another thing I was wrong about, the third thing I was wrong about, I thought that Newman would have a better season than Ivy. I still, I love both these guys. There's a player on this Purdue team that I don't like. My bias is showing. But I just thought Newman, his steadiness was going to be such a kind of a coup for this Purdue team. He started right away. He was very impactful, very good. And there's kind of the problem that Purdue has right now is, there's only so many minutes, only so many shots, and really Ivy is coming on. If you look at just the way he's playing, the dynamic nature, the way he plays, the many different weapons at his hands right now, he's scary to other teams. I think they are very aware of where he is on the court at all times. I think Newman is still a better shooter, but I was wrong about that, and I don't feel bad about that. And so it's a good thing. And once again, because I was wrong, and one guy turns out to have a better season, isn't a bad thing at all. I think this team, we've got so many fun things to watch in the coming years. The fourth thing I was wrong about, and this is a big one. I was wrong about, I thought this Purdue basketball team back in mid-January, and you can go back and look at I did a couple quick casts around this era where I was just doing math to trying to find ways that Purdue could get to 500 or over 500. And I talked about this on Saturday in the live cast. I really... I was off base there. I thought this team would struggle to get to 500 just because the nature of the Big Ten and the schedule being so tough. I thought getting to 10-9 after the Nebraska game was postponed and possibly canceled would be a tall order. And, of course, Purdue has 13 wins. That's a quite an accomplishment for this team and Painter specifically. The guys have gelled, they've grown up. There's chemistry there clearly that's very very good, and Purdue sits in fourth place in the conference because of it. If they were 10-9 right now, I still think they'd be in the tournament. That's a 6-game swing, but I think that. I think that it's funny. It matters who you are when you're coming in tournament time. All I can hear is media types just kind of trying to will Michigan State to the tournament. Michigan State is still sub 500. I think that should matter. I think that should matter every year. If you don't get to 500 in your conference, I think it's awfully hard to say a team belongs in the NCAA tournament. And I don't think Michigan State belongs in the tournament in spite of beating some good teams down the stretch. That's just me. Okay, the biggest thing I was wrong about this year, the number 5 thing I was wrong about this year, was I kept telling you guys to look forward to next season, how fun next season was going to be. And I talked about this in the live cast on Saturday, and I wanted to review it again. I wanted to expound a bit upon it, that looking forward to something and kind of squandering the present in the name of something good that's coming is a mistake. And I don't care what it's about, but especially this year, this Purdue basketball team should have taught us all a lesson that we should enjoy what we've got. There's a lot of good things. And I always say it with my wife, that you don't want to wish away a season with your kids. And if any of you guys are parents out there, you know that there are certain times that may frustrate you. I'll give you an example. When your kids are in diapers, it's a frustrating time. It can be a frustrating time. But there's also some amazing things that come out of that period of time. And when they're gone, you can't rewind. And there is no pause button and all that stuff. So you kind of got to wake up every day and enjoy the things that you've got. It's a good principle to live by anyway. But with this Purdue basketball team, this has been a hell of a season. This has been a lot of fun. And it's really not been a season that's mediocre. It's been a good season. There's been some good things that happen. Granted, it's tough to look at this season without the things we know about this season. We know that the fact that you couldn't get to a game to Mackey to watch Purdue, and you couldn't be in that electric atmosphere that I think almost everybody here who's watching this podcast believes it's an awfully important part of Purdue's lore, and that is the magic of Mackey Arena. And so we couldn't experience it this year. And I'm a guy who I've had season tickets. I've had half season tickets. I've had, I've picked and chosen, but generally I get to 5 games, 6 games a season. And I'm in the house for one of these amazing games where it feels like the roof of Mackey is going to explode. And I miss that. And that's part of the reason it feels a little off, feels a little different, but at the same time, it's still been a fun season and it's not over yet. I discount the Big Ten tournament a lot because it hasn't really helped Purdue much in their seeding of the NCAA tournament, even when they won the thing. I don't feel like they're going to win it this year. I've been wrong. I just said it 5 times, 5 noteworthy times and others this season. But I don't feel like they'll win the Big Ten tournament this year. It'd be great if they did, of course. It would feel fun. It would be fun to do that. I'm going to go to one of the sessions, I think, a buddy of mine who was an IU grad, he said, "Hey, you want to go to a game or two? The tickets look cheap." So he's buying tickets, and we're going to go to one of the sessions. I am not going to go to the Purdue session because I don't think that's good for me. But it should be fun, and it'll be different. It's in Lucas Oil, which is different. It's unique, and there's a lot of unique things that have happened this year. So I'm excited about that, and excited about being at a game in person and getting out among the living, because I don't think we've done enough of that this year. So thanks again for tuning in today. Thank you for getting on the live cast. Thanks for following us on Twitter. If you've been at all paying attention to my the way I've been paying attention to the Zach Edey nickname thing, part of the reason, I'll give you a little insight, part of the reason I don't love the Big Maple is I just don't like the sound of it. It's not a big deal. You guys can love it. That's fine. I'm really not being a smart aleck when I say that. Call him that. I don't care. But I had a conversation with his mom via direct message, and she started telling me some of the names he was called in high school. And when you're 7 foot, whatever, because he grew during that time, or when you're really tall, you get some nicknames. And I liked some of them. I thought that was really cool. And I thought if we're just breaking him down just to his Canadianness, I think that's a bit of a problem, because he's a lot more than just being Canadian. He's a lot more than just being a 7'4". He's an interesting guy. I really like watching him grow up, and I think It's been fun. But I also want to respect kind of his past a little bit and say, okay, like the one ZD, I think that's a good nickname. It's easy. Zachzilla is fun because he's big and he smashes things, and that's a lot of fun. And those are both pre-existing nicknames. But just to give you, I like that Toronto Tower. I liked calling him the Big Edie. I think that's fun. I think they're all fun though. If you want to call him the Big Maple, good on you. And the poll that we had on Twitter showed that a lot of people like that one. That's good. So if that's your thing, that's fine. It's probably not going to be mine. So quick question from Nate Anderson. He says, do you agree most teams have trouble matching up with Purdue at the 5 spot? Do I agree with most teams have trouble? You mean in the NCAA tournament, I assume is what you're talking about. I think it's what you're talking about. Maybe you can expound a little bit on that question. I think almost everybody that plays Purdue in the tournament is going to have a little bit of problem matching up with them. And I'll talk about this a little briefly. Let's see, where am I? I'm at 15 minutes, almost 16. This team creates matchup problems because there are so many guys that can do things. The one thing that Purdue doesn't do well, it seems consistently, of course, is shoot the deep ball. That's a bit of a problem, especially in the NCAA tournament. The one thing Purdue does really well is they have guys that can score and create in different ways. And having Ivy come on is a big deal. I think that is one of the most important elements of going on a tournament run, is having a dynamic guard that can score at will. Ivy's not there yet. Okay, but we've seen in spots he's been able to do that. And they have, of course, Travion Williams. When he has been resolute, he has been really tough to stop. Obviously, Edie is showing that he is very, very tough to stop. And he's going to be a hard matchup, especially for the lesser or the smaller schools. Let's look back to Liberty. Liberty's a tournament team. They're not the greatest tournament team, but they're a tournament team, and they couldn't do anything about Edie because of his strength. And that was before he got better. He's getting better every single game. Sasha Stefanovic is hard to stop. And Ohio State learned that if you take away the 3, Sasha can also cut you up a little bit there. Brandon Newman is hard to stop. Gillis has been hard to stop. Eric Hunter, that mid-range jumper is an underrated thing, but he's got it at any time he wants to take it. This is why this Purdue team is really, really a difficult draw. Now, one thing to look forward to next year, and I said I didn't want to do this all the time, one thing to look forward to next year for this Purdue team is kind of a line change idea, using some Canadian terms, using some hockey terms. Purdue has potentially the ability to have 2 sets of starters next year. How exciting is that? Think about that. And that's not a joke. That's not letting anything up. You could have 2 groups that really are a 1-2 punch like other teams cannot match up with. A lot of times you see, especially Purdue, there's a fallout when they took Travion Williams and gave him, the chance to take a deep breath, or he got into foul trouble in the season. That was trouble. Next year, Purdue literally have the ability to have 2 sets of 5 or more that can really punch teams in the nose. And so when they're a little fatigued, or if they struggle with depth, or if they try to run guys too long, that's going to spell doom for a lot of teams next year. That's something to think about that I hadn't really thought about until I was. Yeah, thank you, Nate. Nate says he loves the line change idea, and so do I. And it's not something that I don't think we've seen that really since the Katie years. Purdue had a couple teams that were really deep. They weren't that great, but they were really deep. The Big Ten championship, I want to say in 1995, it was either the 95 or 96 team. Was really, really deep. I think it was the 95 team, was really deep. And they lost Robinson, but they didn't lose anybody else. And so you saw a little bit of that. I remember my college roommate used to have this term, because somebody on ESPN used to always say wholesale substitutions coming in. You've heard that term before. But he used to always say retail substitutions, which I thought was funny. But Purdue would bring in 4 guys at one time. Well, Purdue has the ability to bring in 5. That is really, really, really cool and really neat to think about. But in the meantime, let's enjoy the Big Ten tournament, shall we? Let's enjoy the NCAA tournament. It's been a fun 20 minutes with you. I appreciate you tuning in. Hope you have a great afternoon, great week. Once again, Purdue plays later in the week. I think they play Friday at 2 o'clock. And before that, Big Ten tournament starts. And you can just enjoy the other conference tournaments. I just love that. I love watching the small conference tournaments. Watching teams punch their ticket it's a really, really underrated thing. I know we talk about the NCAA tournament and the drama of the first round of the tournament, But the drama of these small conference tournaments is incredible. So thanks again for tuning in. I'm almost exactly 20 minutes. Have a great day. God bless you. Hammer down. We'll talk soon. See ya.